Spotlight with Shadow, a Canadian dad who's got his finger on the pulse of global entertainment and sports. Each episode features unfiltered conversations with everyday creatives, musicians, wrestlers, filmmakers, and more from every corner of the globe. No fluff, just raw, real stories. This is Spotlight with Shadow, presented by Off the Top Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight with Shadow. Tonight, I am joined by an up-and-coming young lady in the Indy scene of professional wrestling. Her name is Miss Ava Brooks. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a long week, but we've made it halfway through. So,
yeah, it feels like it's been a long week, but that's what happens when the hot weather goes away, right? You start to drag out. So I'm just going to skip a lot of the pleasantries. I'm going to dive right in. Tell me about a young Ava. Like, what was your upbringing like? Where, tell us where you're exactly from, but where are you from?
I'm from Central Pennsylvania. There's quite literally the closest wrestling to me is a half hour away. So I'm in the middle of nowhere. Most of the promotions that I wrestle at are at least an hour and a half away from my house. So getting into it was definitely hard with finding a school and whatnot. But it's definitely not a piece of cake like a lot of people try to say that it is.
So you say you're from Pennsylvania. I have to ask this because Pennsylvania is pretty much a hockey place. Are you a hockey fan?
I am not. Not that I don't like the sport. If it's on the TV, I will watch it. When the fights break out, I'm definitely there to see it, but I don't choose to watch it.
Fair enough. Football fan then, I take it?
So. Every so often, I'll ask my parents to turn on a game, but it's not very often.
Fair enough. So you're an up-and-coming indie star, that I've heard. Now, you're younger in the game than most people start out as.
Yes.
So I got to ask, where did this draw from? Like, where the inspiration's coming from? Like, whether it be parents or even wrestlers themselves, where's this inspiration coming from?
So it all started around COVID time. I had switched to online learning, so I had more free time on my hands. And we had a gym a half hour away. I got into boxing, MMA. I joined an amateur wrestling club. And then a couple months after that, I had gone to States, the whole 9. We were training for freestyle in the summer, and I ended up breaking my hand. So it was during a practice. That's when all injuries happen. But I was out for 4 months, and it was a rough time because I had lost everything that I had been doing for the past 6 months. All of my outlets were gone. And that's when we started going to Imagine Wrestling as fans watching. Eventually, we moved out to IWC, and that's when I saw Katie Arquette. That was the moment that I looked at my mom and I was like, I want to do this. I was just about to turn 15, either just about or I was 15. It was in that gray area. Obviously, I was still in school, and no one around here would take me until I was 16. So I had to wait that year, just went to all the shows that I could. And then 16, we found a school closer to home. It was still an hour away, but I was only there for a year and a half. And then I ended up getting hurt there, which set me back again. I was out for another 4 months. After I decided to leave that training school, I would train before every show that I would go to, no matter who I could get into the ring with. I was getting my ring time in. And then I got told that I was debuting on my 18th birthday against Katie Arquette. So it was a full circle moment, and it was the best night of my life.
Not very often you get to debut against someone you idolize trying to come into the sport.
Yes.
So that's awesome. That is a wicked start for you. So do you draw in any inspiration from like the pro side of it, like the bigger pros on it?
Yeah, so obviously Britt Baker from AEW. I saw her on TV before I knew that she was even on the indie scene. But she came from IWC, so that was really cool. I've met her twice, and each time we update her. She talks to my mom occasionally, because one of my main mentors helped train her. So I have that little back and forth every so often, which is really nice. But I don't really feel like, other than her, I got into WWE and AEW until I really started wrestling. And I don't know why, but I feel like I started backwards almost. So I watched Indy and then I got into pro. But it was backwards, but I got to where I needed to be.
Hey, you fell in love with the sport at the most passionate level possible, and then you watch the pros, which is you love it for the intensity of the game, not just because it's flashy and all that. So I love that. Now, I'm just a little bit mind blown. You're at the same school, the same centers. Your mentor is somebody that trained arguably one of the greatest women now in professional wrestling, Britt Baker, DMD. Got to make sure you put that respect there. So, knowing that you have a little bit of a relationship with one of the biggest stars in the industry right now, how does that make you feel on a personal level with attaining your goals of going pro?
It is definitely a little intimidating because I know that she's watching from time to time. So it's like, okay, Ava, don't mess up. You got this. But it's also one of the most rewarding things whenever I do talk to my mom. She's like, oh, I was talking to her today and we were talking about you and your journey and stuff like that. And it's definitely wild because I where I am now, being only 4 months in, I didn't think that I would ever get this far this quickly. So seeing the progress is another mind-blowing experience for me. Because I've done sports all my life, and this is the first time I've been able to step out and just be my individual self and be able to shine on my own.
You say you've been in sports your entire life, and I'll get to that in a second. But one thing I'd say is you're used to being in a team sport, but now you're an individual pushing yourself, not an entire team around you. Yeah. So now you're seeing the benefits of hard work in a different setting.
Yes.
So sports, what were you playing growing up?
So I have done everything. Once I got into middle school, there were times where I was at my school from 7 o'clock whenever the bus arrived at the school until 11 at night, whenever I was doing 3 sports at one time. I started in 2nd grade. I was in soccer. I did a year, and then my older sister, she ended up getting a liver transplant. She has a bunch of health issues. So soccer wasn't really working out for me. So took summer off, started 3rd grade, and I did basketball from 3rd grade to 7th or 8th grade. That time is a little blurry, but I did it for a really long time. That was originally what I thought I was going to do with my life. I was like, I'm going to go to college for basketball. Love the sport, but high school politics and if you have the right last name or not, it definitely got in the way, and it kind of took my love away for the sport. But at the same time, whenever I was in it, there was a time where I was doing volleyball. I twirled for a while with the band and indoor competitions. And then once I left my public school, I left all of that and I got into boxing, MMA, kickboxing, and wrestling down in Altoona. And at the Gorilla House gym, Sid Ross was my trainer. She doesn't coach anymore, but I have so many memories from practices with her. And I feel like she really helped me with my confidence when it came to, just because I'm a girl doesn't mean that I can't hit hard and have that intense side of me.
That's fair, and I'm glad you have that support system in place that maybe not there currently, but you had it growing into the person you are now, which is huge because, I have a daughter myself, and I hope that I can instill the values in her that she is capable of just knocking out anybody if she wants to.
Yeah.
right? I don't want to put that. I don't want to say, "Oh, that's a boy thing." No, go ahead, hit him just as hard.
Mhm.
So I'm going to dive in a little bit of personal stuff. You're just fresh out of high school. What were you like in high school? Like preppy, jock? What were you?
I actually, and I feel like this surprises a lot of people because of how I am now. I feel like I talked a lot more in high school than I do now, more so in like junior high, because 9th through 12th grade, I wasn't in a brick and mortar school. I was at home. But even though I would talk all the time, I was by myself a lot of the time. I didn't have a solid group of friends, mainly because all the sports I was in, I didn't really have time for that social life. Plus, it was just there's like 40 people in a class in my public school. So everyone has like their little cliques, and if you don't click with one, the second kindergarten starts, it's just a mess. So I just kind of stuck by myself.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Nerdy side of things for you. You are a collector of any kind? Like, do you like to read? Like,
I used to read, kind of fell out of it. Just started reading again not that long ago. Because I forgot how much reading was an outlet for me if I don't have wrestling or something else. But I just started enjoying that again. Nerdy wise, I don't think I collected a whole bunch of anything. I do know that me and my sister collected Monster High dolls. We had almost every single one of those things. And I wish we would have kept them now because the remakes that they made look nothing like them. And I'm like, that is not a Monster High doll. That is not what it's supposed to look like. But I feel like that was really the only thing. I have a couple Funkos here and there. Now I have a couple wrestlers that I have hung up on my wall, but my brother is the big collector. We have so many wrestling figures in this house. Crazy.
trust me, I get that passion. I have them all over my house. I got Funkos and figures. I'm constantly looking. But it's something I get to do with my kids and stuff like that. So it is fun. And they can't touch it and they get mad. But they're like, well, why can't we play with the toy? Well, I learned a lesson a long time ago when I figured out that they actually can be worth something.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you're 4 months in now. What is your theme music?
Okay. So
And you got to tell me the story behind it. I got to hear this.
So originally, Ava Brooks wasn't what I was going to go with. I had a whole other gimmick. I don't want to give too much away of that gimmick because like I have everything set aside, and once I get the opportunity to use it, I will, but I want my career to grow more before I bring her out. Only because, and someone brought this up to me, and it was a really good point. Whenever you first start wrestling, it's a lot of just getting reps in. So it's going where you can, getting in front of a crowd, getting comfortable in those you're in the spotlight moments. And most of the time you don't win your matches. So you don't want to bury your gimmick. So we went with a very basic, just Ava Brooks. Ava is my actual first name. So that's a lot simpler. But Ava Brooks, I was a backstage correspondent for 2PW, which is Prospect Pro Wrestling. And my mentor was like, what if we just keep that? Because I was debuting there also. So the fans already knew me by that. So then it was, before we decided the music, we were trying to find a promo pic. And the promo pic that I have now that most companies like to use is me doing the kissy face. And it's funny because my mom does my pictures and stuff for me because she's a ringside photographer. And she told me to do it as a joke. And when we sent 3 ideas that we had, my mentor picked the one that I didn't even really want. So now it's this whole running joke. But so then we're trying to figure out this music, and we're like, what is she gonna come out to? And we came up with a couple songs. We had Cardi B, a couple other artists, Nicki Minaj. And then we came across Starships from Nicki Minaj, and it just stuck. And so far, before I even walk out of that curtain, as soon as it hits, they don't care who's coming through the curtain. They just start singing along, dancing. It's the funniest thing ever.
That's great. And that song, man, I haven't heard that in a while. So
I was just at NCW in Buffalo, New York, and when they turned my song off, a couple fans were like, "Why did you turn it off? That was a good song." And I'm like, "We gotta keep the show going, guys. We can't just jam to my music all night."
right. I mean, you could pull AEW and keep it going, but we're not here to do that. We're here to fight, right?
Yeah.
So, how many matches have you had in the last 4 months?
Okay, let's see. So it hasn't been that many, so I'll just go in order. We had my debut in June, which was the only match that I had. It was kind of to see where I was at from my last training school to the switch, because I switched training schools directly after my debut. So we were seeing where my cardio was at, everything like that. And then I got thrown into a battle royale with RWA in West Newton, Pennsylvania, which I will be there. I don't know when this is going to come out, but the Saturday after we're filming this, so this Saturday for us, I'll be there for a rematch with this guy who I beat in 55 seconds. Anyway, that's not the point. But we had RWA, and then I went to Rise, which is now my home promotion, and I faced a girl named Laura Lovelace, who I got the quick pin with her after she beat the crap out of me for 3 minutes. Very sore after that. Went to NCW, faced Zandra Lee and Zoe Sky, and then I think that's it. Or wait, no, I went back to RWA, and I faced a guy named Chris Hemsley, who, that's the guy that I beat in 55 seconds. Crowd went nuts. It was a whole thing. And now he wants a rematch because
you Ronda Rousey'd him.
Yeah, he wasn't very happy with that.
You mentioned somebody that's very familiar with the network itself, and that's Zandra. Zandra Lee out of Northland Wrestling. How was your experience wrestling her? I mean, she's a feisty girl too.
She is a feisty girl, but I could not have asked for anybody better to be in my debut for NCW. She helped me so much, especially once I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm 4 months in. I like my routine in the ring is kind of cookie cutter right now because I'm still finding my way around. And she's like, okay. And then Zoe ended up coming up and being put into our match, so that helped a lot. Especially because Zoe was another one that I had watched on the Indies. So in 4 months, two of the people that I was like, these girls, I've gotten to cross off my list, which is pretty cool.
Now, any of these promotions that you visited have, and I don't want to disrespect any indies because that's not what we do here. I appreciate, and you got to support your indie friends. But what I mean by this, and it's just a question, have you come across any big stars yet in the promotions that you've gone and visited or been to? Like guys or girls that have made their way down, I guess, from the big leagues.
I guess. I mean, I've run into names, not so that they've like come down, but Rhino was just at one of the shows I was at. Tommy Dreamer. Who else?
Those are stellar names right there.
Yeah. I was going to say, I didn't get to really talk to Tommy, but I did get to talk to Rhino, which was really cool. And my parents had gotten to him before I did, so he already knew that I was 4 months in and brought that up before I could even tell him. And I was like, you talked to my parents, didn't you? And he was like, yes, I did. And I was like, okay. But those are the two that I can think of off the top of my head that of our of that caliber.
Now, from people you've trained with and just people you've wrestled or just even people you've met, excuse me, dinner's coming back. So I have to ask, have they told you try not to be the starstruck indie girl on the scene, like just play it normally? They're just normal human beings.
Yeah. I feel like going to like Comic Cons or Toy Hios and meeting the bigger stars and like having those interactions, I've really gotten to like they're normal people just like you and I. They just do what we love on a higher level. That's really the only difference. So honestly, they would prefer you talk to them like a normal person than it would be to stand there and be like and just not say anything.
I've talked to a few of these, and they're like, "Why? They're the same person. They're just here being a character, or sometimes themselves, depending what the situation is." And they're like, they're just normal, no different than me and you talking right now. And I was like, "Oh, I try not to get starstruck when I meet certain people, but it's hard."
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in the position you are. I do this. You actually wrestle, so. But it's cool. I mean, I've had my fair share of meeting some nice, cool people that I never thought I'd interact with. So
yeah,
it's cool like that.
There will be some that you'll run into that you can tell before you even go up to them that they just don't want to be bothered, and that's when you just stay away. But for the most part, everybody that comes through is pretty welcoming, and it's just once you start being like, "Hey, can you watch all 67 matches that I've had in this last year and give me notes on everything?" that they're like,
"Go away, kid.
you're crazy. Like, get away from me. You're weird." But yeah.
As a pro wrestling fan, I'm going to go back to the pros for a second. Do you have a favorite match on the major promotion scene?
I feel I don't know if I would have a favorite match. The favorite like collection of matches that I definitely have though, and people might hate on me for this, but I do not care. Like, one thing that I'm so glad that my parents did was raise me to have my own opinion and not care what anybody thinks, what the internet thinks about my opinion.
We love that here.
That's just what it is. I know a lot of people don't like Logan Paul because of things that he did when he was younger on YouTube and social media, but that guy put in so much work into so much cool shit in his matches that like you wouldn't expect him. Like, if to just look at him, you'd be like, he wrestles? And then you see what he can actually do, and it's just like, I am never bored during a Logan Paul match, ever.
Yeah, Logan is a talent, as I'm sure I give credit where credit is due. Like, that man came in and said, "Oh, I'm not just another celebrity. I'm putting in that work."
Yeah, literally. He is the only one. Like, I know some people liked when Bad Bunny came in. No, no celebrity who's come in has put in the work like Logan has.
Well, there is one, and that's David Arquette, but that's way before your time.
True. If I'm correct, the fur jacket that Katie Arquette has, I'm pretty sure she got from David.
Really?
I'm pretty sure, because that's, if I remember the history of like where her name came from, I'm pretty sure he influenced that in some way.
That is dope.
Yeah.
Okay. So I always think you were put on my radar by, and I'll shout it out here, just Zandra's match with you. That put you on my radar. I've spoken to other people that know of you, and they've been highly spoken of you. And that's amazing to hear 4 months in that you're already being talked about in the positive sense. You're not super green, as they would say, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I followed you. I'm watching what you've posted, your moves, you're like the stuff you've shown so far. You're quick, you're agile, you're moving well. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you.
So I have to ask, because I asked this to everybody. AEW and WWE give you a call tomorrow morning, $10 million each. That's the offer. Doesn't matter. Who are you going to and why?
See, that's hard for me because there's two different, like AEW and WWE are so different in my eyes. Like, I feel like WWE focuses more on, now it definitely has changed since Triple H took over, but for a while it was WWE is where you get your storytelling, where you get your long-term storytelling more than your like hardcore matches, stuff like that. Whereas AEW gave me more of the indie wrestling feel, which I feel is why I started leaning more towards AEW when I first started, because it's what I was familiar with seeing.
Right.
And there's a lot of amazing men and women on both sides, but I feel like I've really started to get into watching Rhea and Liv, and Thea Hale actually came from my training school. So seeing her down there and doing all of that, I feel like I might lean more towards over there because I like what Triple H is turning WWE into.
Fair. But then, so that I guess that might lead to my next question. What is, because I know everybody's got one, what is your dream match opponent?
My dream match would probably be Rhea. That like 100%. Rhea is my dream match. I'd love to get into the ring with her. If I had to go for second, it would be Liv. And the reason I can't say Liv first is because our finishers are basically the same thing. I just do mine a little differently. So it would be, I mean, I guess you could do basically flatliner versus flatliner match, but I feel like she might get a little angry with me if she was like, yo, that's my finisher.
Yeah, and then you have to deal with Raquel, and nobody wants to. So, is Britt up there then on the top three to face Britt?
Yes. Britt would be number 3. If I had to pick like one WWE, one AEW, it would be Rhea and Britt.
Two very talented women in their respective rights, both different styles. And, I still want to get Britt as my dentist, man. That'd be cool. Just chat with her. But she doesn't work in Pennsylvania, I hear. She works down in Florida. Yeah. So, are you a video gamer at all? You game?
I am not. So, I get asked that a lot, actually, which is really funny to me. The problem is I don't have time because if I work and I'm in college right now also. So if I'm not at work, I'm at school. If I'm not at school, I'm at training. If I'm not at training, I'm at a show. And if I'm not doing anything, I'm doing homework or I'm on a podcast. So you're my first podcast of the week. In the next 2 days, I have a podcast tomorrow and then Friday. So I'm booked and busy always.
So I guess to kind of answer my question, but I'm going to ask you, what is the day in the life on a weekly basis look for Ava Brooks?
So Sundays are usually my rest days where I think and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, why do I do this? Why? And people ask me that all the time. They're like, why did you want to be a wrestler? And I'm like, why not, dude? This is the funnest shit I do. Like, this is my life. I love traveling. Love meeting new people, and the things I've been able to do have been so cool and awesome. So Sundays are my recoup days. Rest, because I'm usually sore by the end of the week. Mondays, I have to go in person to my college because I'm in a hybrid program to become an MA, and I'll be done. Hopefully, if I pass my certification and get all my clinicals done, I'll be graduated by September 9th of next year. So it's only a year program. So I'm trying to get it all out of the way so that I can work and wrestle. Tuesdays, usually my work days, if I'm not working, I'm doing homework all day long. Wednesdays, I go back to school. They're my longer days. Thursdays, my training school is 2.5 hours away one way. So I have to leave here by 2:30 to get there by 5 to be on time for training. Fridays, usually I'm doing something wrestling related, or that's our running errands day. And then Saturday, I'm at a show.
Wow.
And the week starts over.
Now, I'm assuming as a wrestler, you have a strict diet as it is. What is your go-to cheat meal if there is one?
So, knock on wood. I don't know where wood is around me. We'll just knock on this desk. I still have my very fast metabolism. So, my body is also going through like this weird thing where there will be days where like I have to force myself to eat because I don't feel hungry, but I need to eat to keep up with my protein and stuff. So I pretty much can eat whatever I want as of right now. I feel like that's definitely going to end up changing here probably within the next year or two. But if I was on a strict diet for wrestling, what would my cheat meal be? I need to look this up. We went to Niagara Falls, and I need to make sure that I get this right. We went to the Hard Rock Cafe up there, and I know what it was. I don't have to look it up. It was a spicy Diablo burger. I ate that thing in under 5 minutes. It was so good. So good.
Oh,
I would eat that all this. Oh, it was so good.
It sounds like it's spicy, and I love spicy food, so
same here.
I'm here for it. Before we wrap this up, what is the day in Ava Brooks going into a match? What's your routine like? Because I'm assuming there's a certain thing you do here.
So I'll usually get up. I won't do anything to get ready, like makeup or obviously gear-wise, until I'm at the venue. But I'll get all my stuff loaded up in the car, and I'll either actually sleep on the way there or I'll just listen to music. I try to keep myself at like a calm state because with switching to homeschooling, my anxiety kind of went up a little bit, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because I didn't have like in-person interaction for so long, but I get very nervous also very quickly, which a lot of people can't tell when I'm wrestling, but I am always nervous because I feel like that's with any wrestler though. Once you get like those nerves and butterflies go away, I feel like you should really question on whether or not wrestling is what you want to do. But we'll usually stop at Sheets or something so that everybody else can get food. I'll get a protein bar or a protein cookie. That's all I'll eat before my match, and I'll drink water. We'll go figure out what I'm doing for the night. I'll get changed. A lot of wrestlers like jump up and down or run back and forth behind the stage or like yell at themselves or something crazy, start hitting themselves. I literally stand there and then I just walk out. If I do anything else, I'm not trying to blow myself up before I even get out there. I can't do it. Like because of how quick I move in the ring, I can't even afford to blow myself up before because it's not working. Usually do my match, come back, I'll get my feedback, and then once I get the tape, if I can rewatch it at that moment, I will, and I'll watch it 8 or 9 times. A lot of people hate watching themselves wrestle. Everybody's their biggest critic, but I am so hard on myself, even with my schooling. Like right now I'm currently somehow top of my class, and anything below a 95, your girl starts panicking. So even with wrestling, I'm like, I'll see something, they'll be like, oh, that was an amazing match. And I'm like, yeah, but I just fucked up this, and this. And you might not be able to tell, but I can. So then it's just a matter of fixing it. But I watch myself so much. So much.
I can't do it. I've done I've done. I think this is like 20 something interviews now I've done, and I can't go back and watch any of them. I just can't. I don't like to do that. You know, I'm a very one and done kind of person. So
Yeah.
I get feedback from other people like, hey, good show. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you. Moving on.
Done.
But,
Cut it. We're done.
Yeah, pretty much. With that being said, please, by all means, plug your merch, plug your dates. Right? You can start right from now if you want. I mean, you don't have to listen to what I said backstage. Plug right from today up. By all means, give us your info.
As of dates, my next 2 like set in stone that I have for this month, because I'm still figuring things out for November and December at the moment. I'm wrestling this weekend at RWA in West Newton, Pennsylvania, and then I'm wrestling at Keystone ESW in Erie the following Saturday, which I think is the 26th of October. But those are my 2 days right now.
So, yeah. It is.
Merch as of right now, we have shirts, 8x10s, trading cards. Shirts are $20 to $25 depending. 8x10s are $10. Trading cards are $5, and we just got air fresheners, black ice scented with my logo from Amazon. I think we're charging $5 or $10 for those. I believe. I have to talk to my mom because she does all of the pricing and stuff. But I'll definitely be putting that up on my social medias. All of my social medias are finding me at some sort of official Ava Brooks. If it's just Facebook, it's just Ava Brooks. And you'll see the kissy face picture, or you'll see a picture of me like standing up against the ropes in black and white. That's how you know it's me. There you'll find a link tree. If you find one of them, you can't find the rest. You can find all of them there. And then I do have a YouTube as well, which is also Ava Brooks with the kissy face picture, where you can find my vlog that I actually just did when I went up and wrestled with Sandra. So I think I covered everything. I think that's it.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you support your indie friends. If you see Ava on a show near you, hit her up. Make sure you said, hey, I seen you on Spotlight with Shadow. Make sure you follow all her socials. Make sure you're taking in her content. Make sure you're just supporting everybody in the indie scene, because we're here just trying to have some fun. With that being said, I am Shadow. This is Ava. This has been Spotlight with Shadow. Good night.